My wedding is hours away, and my fiancé ditches me for his manipulative childhood friend, calls me petty, and says I should postpone if I don't want to lose him. Without missing a beat, I called my arch-rival. I'm short a groom for my wedding today. Mr. Vance. Interested in tying the knot. Isabel is really running a high fever. She's very sick. Every time she's been ill since we were kids, I've been by her side. I just can't rest easy otherwise. Ethan's voice came through the phone, but it no longer had the power to hurt me. On my birthday, Isabel got a small scratch while filming, and he abandoned me to travel 1,000 miles to take care of her. On our anniversary, Isabel received a dead rat from an anti-fan and claimed to be terrified. So he ditched me and rushed to her house to comfort her all night. And now, the night before our wedding, Isabel said she had a fever. He immediately dropped everything, secretly bought a plane ticket, and flew to be with her. Ethan, I'm asking you one last time. The wedding is at 11 today. Can you make it back or not? Ethan sighed, his tone weary. Ava, I'm at her film set now. It's over a 3-hour drive to the airport. I won't make it. Can we just postpone the wedding by a day? Please. Postpone the wedding. All our friends and family have either arrived or are on their way to the hotel. And you're telling me to postpone. On what grounds? Ava, because you're a cheating scumbag. Or because Isabel is a master manipulator. Ava, it's not what you think between Isabel and me. Don't be so petty. I'm petty. I think you and Isabel should just get married on the spot. Why did you have to waste so many years of my life? For years. I had watched their drama for 4 years. I was tired. I let out a cold laugh and gave him my final ultimatum. If you don't make it back today, then we're through. Ava, I know you're jealous and saying things in anger, but as I said, I just can't get back in time. If you don't want to lose me, you'll postpone the wedding. With that, he hung up angrily, as if I were the one in the wrong all along. Yes, I'm the one who's wrong. I brought this on myself. But from now on, never again. I spun around, grabbed a nearby chair, and hurled it at the large wedding portrait hanging on the wall. Crash! A loud bang echoed through the room. People from outside rushed in, seeing the shattered picture frames. They were all stunned. Ava, what's wrong? What did that dog Ethan say? My best friend Maya rushed over and grabbed my hand as I was about to lift the chair again. Don't hurt yourself. I'll smash it for you. The bridal suite was a wreck. My mother came to my side and patted my shoulder. Let it go. It's fine if this wedding doesn't happen. We'll have your father explain it to your grandfather later. I looked at my mom, a forced smile on my lips but my gaze firm. Who says I'm not getting married? Huh. They all stared at me in disbelief. I dialed the number of my arch-rival, Caleb Vance. The phone rang several times, unanswered. Just as I was about to hang up, the call connected. A man's voice, seemingly hesitant, came through. Hello, Ava. I clutched my phone, a knot of nervousness in my stomach. But Caleb was the only person I could think of who might work. When he found out I was getting married, he had once joked, "Wouldn't it be great if you married me instead? We wouldn't have to be rivals anymore. We could be a power couple." Today, I could lose love, but I could not lose my dignity. This wedding had to happen. Taking a deep breath, I mustered my courage. Yes, it's me. I'm short a groom for my wedding today. Mr. Vance. Interested in tying the knot? There was silence on the other end. 1 second. 2. 3. My heart raced as disappointment began to build. Just when I thought he wouldn't answer, Caleb's voice came through, laced with a hint of amusement and mockery. Ava, what kind of joke is this? I swallowed hard. If you're not interested, then never mind. I'm in. I froze. You agree? Yes, I agree. He reverted to his usual half-joking, half-serious tone. But let's be clear. I'm not going to be a stand-in. I frowned. What do you mean? When Caleb Vance gets married, he wants a real wife. At the very least, one who can lie beside me. Someone I can feel is real. Warm. You understand. I paused for a moment. Deal. So, what do I do now? Caleb asked. Be at the Grand Crest Hotel before 11 to be my groom. Anne, we'll need a new bridal suite. Alright, leave it to me. I guarantee you'll be satisfied. We ended the call. I looked up at my stunned friends and family. Caleb. My mother was the first to speak. Is that the man you call your biggest rival in business? Yes, I nodded. But how can that be? My mother asked worriedly. Isn't he your rival? What if he's taking advantage of the situation? What if he tries to trick you? What's wrong with it? Auntie, I think it's a great idea. Caleb is handsome, rich, and a business tycoon. He's way better than that fickle jerk Ethan. Maya came over and gave me a light nudge. You go, girl. Your taste has definitely improved this time. I gave a wry smile. Caleb and I were just using each other for our own needs. But it didn't matter. All I wanted was for this wedding to proceed. I wouldn't be humiliated because of Ethan. And more importantly, I wouldn't let my family be humiliated because of me. Ethan's parents called, trying to persuade me on his behalf. They insisted he really couldn't make it back and urged me to postpone the wedding until tomorrow. They warned me that if I insisted on going through with it, I'd be the one publicly embarrassed without a groom. The Thorne family wouldn't show up. I told them the wedding would not be postponed. They thought I was throwing a tantrum, and they all scolded me for being immature and inconsiderate. Ethan's mother even said, the daughters-in-law in our family have always been obedient and gentle. Ava, if you want to marry into our family, you need to learn to soften that competitive, strong-willed personality of yours. I hung up, not wanting to listen to their nonsense anymore. Marry into their family. In their dreams. My parents only have me, their only daughter, out of love. They felt the apartment Ethan received as a university professor was too small. So, they bought another townhouse in our neighborhood to be our marital home. After the wedding and we got our license, it would be transferred to our names. The Thorne family had happily accepted. So, our marital home was just a few houses down from my parents. After smashing the photos, I went back to my parents' house and had the makeup artist start on my makeup. She started at 7:30 a.m. And by 9:30, I was already in my wedding dress. Although there was no longer a romantic procession of cars to pick me up. Custom dictated that I had to leave from my own home to go to the hotel. I knew that even with my last-minute supporting actor, Caleb, I would have to perform this play alone today, no matter how hard it was. I was determined to make it a spectacular show. However, to my complete surprise, Caleb showed up. Just as we were about to leave, a string of firecrackers went off downstairs, filling the air with a festive atmosphere. My other bridesmaid, Sophia, ran into my room, smiling. Ava, Mr. Vance is here. There's a huge procession of cars downstairs. Outside my door, my aunt joyfully grabbed my uncle. What are you waiting for? An aunt and uncle have to go down and welcome the new groom. It was our custom. When the eldest brother's daughter gets married, the uncle and aunt greet the groom. When the younger brother's daughter marries, the eldest brother's wife greets him. The bride's parents would wait in the main hall for the groom and his family to enter. Barefoot, I tiptoed to the window and looked down. A long line of white cars was parked neatly along the side of the road. My aunt and uncle had already welcomed the groom and his party inside. Maya, quick. Help me with my shoes. I walked back and sat on the bed. I didn't know what Caleb was up to, so I quickly got ready and went downstairs. In the main hall, a well-dressed, middle-aged man with a crew cut and a commanding presence was having a silent stare down with my father. He was Caleb's father. I had met him a couple of times in business settings. Caleb's mother, however, I was seeing for the first time. She was elegant and beautiful, with a smile that was almost too bright. She was holding my mother's hand with immense warmth, saying, "My Caleb told me his bride was as beautiful as a flower." And I said, "Well, her mother must be a great beauty too. And now that I see you, you truly are stunning." Just then, they heard us coming down the stairs and all looked up. Ava, my daughter-in-law. I gave an awkward, slight nod. Mrs. Vance. Hello. Oh. That's not right. You should be calling me Mom now. Mom. Be happy. But don't be too forward. You'll scare my wife. Caleb, who had been standing to the side, strode towards me. I grabbed his hand and pulled him into an empty room on the first floor, closing the door behind us. I looked at him and demanded, "Caleb, what are you doing?" Caleb stared at me, his crimson lips curving into a slight smile. The upward flick of his almond-shaped eyes always gave him a look of charming affection. Caleb and I had been classmates for 4 years in university. After graduation, Once I took over my family's business, we became arch rivals for 3 years. In the 7 years I'd known him, I always knew this man was like a beautiful, fierce leopard, not to be trifled with. But today, I had no other choice. He looked at me, his tone uncharacteristically serious. Getting married. You. I told you to go to the hotel. I'm just picking up my bride first, Caleb said with a smile, reaching out to take my hand. What? Are you angry? I pulled my hand away. Hey, Ava. I told you I'm fine with getting married, but I refuse to be a stand-in. You want to save face, but don't I? If I just show up at the hotel, what will everyone I know think of me? Fine. I get it. I looked at him, realizing I had no reason to be angry. He had a point. I turned and glanced at the impressive fleet of cars outside the window, a mix of amusement and exasperation in my voice. How did you manage to pull all of this off in just a couple of hours? His dark eyes were deep as he stared at me for a few seconds. A smile touched his lips and spread to his handsome brows. Compared to you, this was nothing. I frowned. What? Nothing, dearest wife. Shouldn't we be heading out? He lifted his wrist to check his watch. Any later and we'll be cutting it close. Who's he calling wife? My face grew warm, but I nodded. Okay. According to the wedding customs here, the groom has to carry the bride out of her family home and into the wedding car. A man without some strength wouldn't even be qualified to get married. But before today, I never in a million years imagined that the man giving me a romantic princess carry would be Caleb. In my memory, this guy was incredibly sharp-tongued. If words could kill, I'd have died by his mouth countless times. In college, military training was the prime time for crushes to blossom and sweet romances to begin. Back then, I had a little crush on our tall, handsome class president. Once, my feigned weakness was about to succeed, and he was about to carry my large water bottle for me when Caleb piped up. Ava, are your arms broken? The class president kindly said. Everyone's tired after training, and this bottle is heavy. I'll carry it for her. However, Caleb snatched the bottle, opened it, tilted his head back, and chugged the water down. He then shoved the empty bottle back into my hands. You can carry it now, right? The scene was incredibly awkward. I could have killed him. The class president was also embarrassed and never interacted with me again after that. My sweet, budding romance died before it could even bloom. Looking back, I think that's when my feud with Caleb really began. From then on, I couldn't stand the sight of him, and he took every opportunity to annoy me. After graduation, I thought we'd finally say goodbye for good, but it turned out he was from this city too. My family's business and his were direct competitors, so we were often vying for the same contracts. This guy, who I sometimes got so angry at that I wanted to secretly put a sack over his head and beat him up, had now become the one to rescue me from my predicament. What a strange twist of fate. Quite magical, really. The banquet started at 11. When the bride and groom took the stage, it naturally caused a huge uproar. Hey, isn't that the wrong groom? Wasn't the groom supposed to be Ethan? This guy is way taller and more handsome than Ethan. Have you noticed that none of the Thorne family is here? What is the Lee family up to? Did Ava switch grooms at the last minute? How exciting. I looked out at the guests, about to take the microphone from the MC to explain. But Caleb beat me to it. He took the mic, holding my hand with his other. Hello everyone. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Caleb Vance, and I am Ava's husband. Thank you all for coming to our wedding today and witnessing our love, which has finally overcome many obstacles to see the light of day. I couldn't help but glance up at him. You've got some nerve. But I had still underestimated Caleb. This guy was a real showman. He even had the MC's script changed at the last minute. Next, the MC told a long story of how we were rivals in love. A classic case of opposites attract. Phrases like, a 7-year-long marathon of love, with some supporting characters appearing along the way, only to serve as catalysts to prove their true feelings. And, soulmates finally united, while the supporting character was just a clown running alongside. And so on. If you didn't know the real story, you'd actually believe that he and I had always been the main characters, and Ethan was just a footnote. Thankfully, the Thorne family had said they wouldn't come, and they really didn't. Otherwise, they would have fainted from anger at the MC's words. My original wedding with Ethan had some planned surprises from each of us. But now with a different groom, all of that was scrapped. Fortunately, Caleb, despite his sharp tongue, was a social butterfly. He managed to turn what could have been an awkward and cold wedding into a romantic and funny event. That hurdle was finally cleared. Next came the exchanging of the rings. I had prepared for this, planning to use the rings meant for Ethan and me. Whether they fit or not, Caleb would have to wear one. However, when the rings were presented, I was stunned. The box. It wasn't the one for our rings. I looked at Caleb in surprise. You. He smiled. At the MC's prompt, he opened the small velvet box, revealing a massive, blindingly brilliant diamond ring. Wow. What a huge diamond. That's at least 10 carats. Right. I'm so jealous. When will it be my turn for a sweet romance? This tall, rich, handsome guy is 10 times better than Ethan. If it were me, I wouldn't have picked Ethan either. He really was just a supporting character. Haha. If Ethan were here, he'd probably cough up blood. What's the real story behind the groom switch? I feel like there's more to it. Who cares? Let's just enjoy the show. The guests below were buzzing with excitement. On stage, however, after we exchanged rings and I saw how perfectly the diamond ring fit my finger, a wave of panic washed over me. At that moment, the MC cheerfully announced, "And now, we invite the groom to give his bride a seal of love. A passionate kiss. Are you all excited?" Yes. Louder, please. Are you excited? Yes. I looked at Caleb, wanting to tell him to just make a gesture. I was about to turn my cheek for him to kiss, but he leaned in and pressed his lips firmly against mine. My emotions were already a tangled mess, but the ordeal wasn't over after the banquet. Aside from some business associates, the remaining friends and family, whether out of curiosity or a desire to see us fail, proposed a visit to our new marital home. Caleb, the last-minute groom, had already performed perfectly up to this point, but could he have possibly had time to prepare a marital home? I was about to politely decline when Caleb smiled and said, "Everyone is welcome. Just follow the wedding procession." I thought the guy had lost his mind. In the car, I was filled with anxiety. I knew I was too proud and cared too much about appearances, but I really didn't want to be publicly humiliated or, even worse, ridiculed. "Don't worry," Caleb said, reaching over to take my hand. I looked up at him, at a loss for words. I wanted to scold him for agreeing to their request, but then I thought about it. In his role as the substitute groom today, he had already done more than enough, and done it well. However, when we arrived, I realized I had been wrong. When he said, "Don't worry," it was because he had already arranged everything. The large villa was festively decorated, with a red carpet rolled out and surrounded by fresh flowers. An archway made entirely of red roses stood at the entrance. The whole scene screamed 3 words: money, kitsch, and romance. Caleb leaned in and whispered to me, "The decorators just left. From the entrance to the inside of the villa, all the way to the bridal suite, everything was perfectly arranged." The most shocking part was, there were even wedding photos. Looking at the bride in the photos, it was clearly me from the photo shoot with Ethan. I had no idea how Caleb got his hands on them. He had even photoshopped himself in his suit next to me. I looked at Caleb in astonishment. "How did you do all this?" He was the king of last-minute saves. Caleb replied, "Matter of factly, money. Money makes the world go round." I believed it now. The wedding day was exhausting. After showering, I changed into my nightgown and, without any hesitation, climbed onto the massive 3-meter wide bed. I flopped down, too tired to even move a toe. Later, Caleb came out of the bathroom. I sat up and looked at him, my gaze heavy. "The wedding photos. How did you get them?" I still couldn't figure that one out. Caleb took a towel and slowly dried his hair. The damp, messy strands fell across his brow, accentuating the sharp, handsome contours of his face. He held the towel in his hand and looked at me, a slight curve on his crimson lips. "Would you believe me if I said Ethan gave them to me?" "What?" I sat up straight in shock. "He gave them to you. Why would he do that?" He pursed his lips and stood by the bed, a half-smile on his face. "Guess. If you won't tell me, then forget it." He walked over. I quickly looked away, my mouth slightly agape. My throat felt a little dry, but I still managed to say, I think I'd like to sleep alone for now. Are you saying you want to sleep in separate rooms? He stood at the edge of the bed, an eyebrow raised as he stared at me. I looked back at him, meeting his gaze. Is that okay? Perhaps because we had been rivals for so long, and I knew that to win against him, it wasn't about meeting force with force, but knowing when to yield. He stared at me for a moment, then clenched the towel in his hand. 3 days. Could you maybe? No. He narrowed his eyes. Let me tell you, don't even think about burning the bridge after you've crossed it. Have some decency. With that, he turned and walked away. I watched his back, and for some reason, I suddenly wanted to laugh. I just felt he wasn't as difficult to deal with as I thought. However, before I could feel too pleased, I saw him go into the bathroom, come out shortly after, and stride over to the large sofa across the room to lie down. Me? What are you doing? He looked up at me. Sleeping. My eyes widened. Didn't I say I wanted to sleep by myself? He sat up and pointed at me. Aren't you sleeping by yourself right now? I was so exasperated I almost laughed. I sat up in frustration. What I meant was, I'll sleep in this room alone. And you can sleep in the guest room. Forget it. He smiled at me. You, Ava, are proud and care about your image. Do you think I don't? Being a last-minute groom was already hard enough to explain to my family. They finally chose to trust and support me through all this. And now you want me to sleep in the guest room. If they find out, what am I supposed to say? What he said didn't seem entirely unreasonable, but just for 3 days. Suddenly, my phone rang. I got up and reached for my phone on the nightstand. It was Ethan. I hesitated, not answering. Ethan. Caleb saw my hesitation and immediately guessed. He quickly got up from the sofa and walked towards me. After a moment of hesitation, I answered. The moment I picked up, Ethan's voice came through, as gentle as ever, and as entitled, just like all the times before. He never seemed to think there was anything wrong with leaving me for another woman. Ava, I'm about to board the plane. Come pick me up at the airport in 2 hours. I clutched the phone, a bitter laugh escaping my lips. Huh. Ethan, have you lost your memory? Ava, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have left you. I'm sorry. And I brought you a gift. Ethan. I cut in. I got married today. On the other end. Ethan chuckled. Come on, baby. Don't be mad. Neither I nor my family was there. What kind of wedding could you have had? That's right. You and your family weren't there. I said with a cold laugh. My family and I worked hard to put on this wedding. Even when you couldn't show up. Your family never thought about how to explain the postponement to the guests. They never offered to handle it for me. They just called and told me to postpone. But, Ethan, you're not the only man in the world. What do you mean? Ethan's tone sharpened, his voice rising. Ava, what the hell do you mean? Just then, Caleb held out his hand to me. I hesitated for a moment before giving him the phone. Caleb and I might not have a future, but one thing I was sure of. I would not go back to Ethan. Ava, say something. Say what? Caleb's magnetic voice, tinged with a smile, came through the speakerphone he'd just turned on. You can ask whoever you want to pick you up in the middle of the night, but you have no right to order my wife around. You, Caleb, you're Caleb. Yeah, once is enough. I'm not your father. Ethan immediately became agitated. Who's your wife? You bastard. Why do you have Ava's phone? Caleb replied. Ethan, my wife is Ava. Of course. And don't play dumb. You should know what you've done. Stop bothering my wife, or things will get ugly for you. You two cheating. Caleb hung up, but almost immediately, my phone rang again. It was Ethan. Of course. This time, I blocked him. That night, I felt physically and mentally exhausted, but my mind was wide awake. I thought I would be up all night, but somehow, I eventually fell asleep. When I woke up, soft light was filtering through the drawn curtains. I quickly sat up and checked my phone. It was already past 9 in the morning. I scrambled out of bed. According to local custom, on the second day of marriage, I was supposed to go back to my parents' home. I got up, washed my face, and was about to take a shower when I remembered I had only brought one change of clothes yesterday. I sighed, resting my forehead in my hand. I decided to skip the shower, thinking I'd just put on some makeup and go. But when I came out, I found a set of clothes neatly folded on the sofa. From underwear to outerwear, Everything was my size. Caleb. I couldn't help but smile. This man. He could be so thoughtful. I suddenly felt that perhaps for the past few years, because we were always at odds, I had defined Caleb as a despicable rival, only seeing his sharp tongue and arrogance, and never considering his other qualities. I showered, got dressed, put on makeup, and left the room. You're awake. Caleb was downstairs, working on his laptop. He saw me come down, stood up, and walked over to take my hand. Dressed so nicely. Going to work? No. I looked at him, hesitated for a moment, and then said, "Don't you know, according to tradition, we're supposed to visit my parents today. Besides, my grandfather hadn't said anything at the wedding yesterday, but he must have been holding back confusion and anger. Going back now, I would inevitably have to explain things." "Oh, that? I almost forgot." Caleb paused for a second, but still led me towards the dining room. "Let's have breakfast first." He seated me, then brought out a small clay pot of abalone and millet congee, steamed soup dumplings, warm soy milk, and 2 sunny, side up eggs. He served me a bowl of congee. I took a bite. It was delicious. "Your chef is really good," I said. He looked up at me. "I don't have a chef here." My eyes widened. "You made this?" "Yeah." He said it as if it were the most normal thing in the world. "If you like it, I can make it for you more often. I know how to cook many other dishes." I was stunned. This guy, who I always thought was so high and mighty, so arrogant and untamed, actually had such a domestic side. I picked up the soy milk and took a sip. It was freshly made. "Did you make this soy milk yourself too?" He looked at me and smiled. "Mrs. Vance, you can be completely confident that in the days to come, I can take very good care of you." "Oh." I suddenly found myself unable to look into his deep eyes and lowered my head to eat breakfast. After we finished, I tried to clear the table, but Caleb stopped me, taking my hand. He smiled, with that same old nonchalant air, his voice magnetic but much softer than when we used to clash. "A beautiful pair of hands like yours shouldn't be washing dishes. Let your husband handle the rough work." He took the dishes from me, though his movements weren't exactly skillful. He placed the dishes in the dishwasher while I watched from the side. I remembered a time I went to Ethan's apartment for dinner. I had tried making 2 new dishes. Not being a great cook, they didn't look or taste very good. Thankfully, Ethan was kind enough to finish them. As I was washing the dishes, he came up from behind and hugged me, sighing, "I'm so lucky to have such a beautiful and capable wife." But Caleb said my hands were too beautiful for washing dishes, and that he would handle the rough work. "What are you thinking about?" Caleb had appeared beside me without my noticing. His handsome face was so close I could feel the warmth of his breath. "Nothing." My heart suddenly started beating faster, my face feeling hot. I tried to step away, but Caleb wrapped an arm around my waist, leaned down, and kissed my forehead. I pushed him away and fled the dining room. Just as Caleb and I were about to leave for my parents' house, my mom called. She said Ethan's family had shown up and were causing a scene. Caleb and I rushed over. As we entered the house, I heard Ethan's mother say, "Your daughter is shameless. She was hooking up with another man behind our backs. The shameless one is Ethan." Caleb's voice rang out. Everyone in the living room turned to look at us. Ethan's mother shot up, her face livid. "You too little." Silence. My grandfather slammed his hand on the table, his eyes glaring at everyone. "Do you all think I'm dead?" Ethan's mother huffed. "Old man, your Lee family is in the wrong here. Am I not even allowed to say a few words? A wedding is a serious matter. Unless he was dead, he should have crawled here to get married. But Ethan wouldn't be with another woman. And now you say our Lee family is in the wrong." My grandfather pointed to the door. "You still have the nerve to come here and argue. All of you, get out." Ethan's father's face was grim. "I never thought you wouldn't even offer an apology. Instead, you, get out," my grandfather commanded. Ethan's father stood up angrily and was about to pull his wife away, but she shook him off and looked at me, then at my parents. "We can go, but that villa you promised them must be sold, and we get half." I laughed out of sheer anger. "Why should we give you half?" Ethan's mother retorted. "Because that was the agreement between our 2 families. Have you lost your mind? Why should we give you half of our villa? Who is your Ethan to us?" Even my gentle, tempered mother couldn't stand it anymore. She stood up, walked over, and pulled Caleb to her side. Our family said that after Ava gets married, the villa can be registered in the young couple's names. But our son-in-law's last name isn't Thorne, and his name isn't Ethan. His name is. My mom, in her agitation, had forgotten her new son-in-law's name. Caleb smiled. Caleb Vance. My mom immediately lifted her chin and continued her tirade. Right. My son-in-law's name is Caleb Vance, not Ethan Thorne. Ethan's mother pointed at me. You cheated on my son, and you're this shameless about it. I'm going to expose this whole affair and let everyone know about your dirty deeds. Look who's talking. I sneered. With parents like you, it's no wonder you raised a scumbag like Ethan. Ethan's mother left in a huff, shouting as she went, Ava, you just wait and see. Just then, Caleb's phone rang. He answered it. Okay, I'm coming out now. He turned and walked out. I followed him and saw his assistant, Ben, parked outside our villa. He passed Caleb a file folder through the iron gate. By this time, Ethan's parents had reached the gate. Caleb handed them the folder. This is for your son, Ethan. Take it back and have a good look. I have plenty more of this. Feel free to expose whatever you want. I'd love to see who ends up humiliated. Ethan's parents looked confused and angry. After a moment of hesitation, they took the thick folder and left. Later, I asked Caleb what he had given them. He just smiled and said nothing. I used to think they were just a bit materialistic. But Ethan is a university professor, so polite and gentle. I figured Ava wouldn't live with her in-laws. So as long as the two of them were happy, it would be fine. But now, I'm so glad Ava didn't marry into that family. My mother sighed with a mix of relief and lingering fear. We had returned in such a hurry. I assumed that Caleb, like me, hadn't had time to prepare any gifts for the visit to my parents. My family, being reasonable people, didn't mention it. But once the unwanted guests left, Caleb went back to his car. When he returned, he was carrying a long rectangular box and two other smaller ones. What's this? Come help me with these, he said to me. I went over and took the two smaller square boxes from him. They weren't heavy, but the rectangular box he was holding looked quite substantial. Caleb, what is all this? My mom asked, walking in with a fruit platter. Caleb carried the rectangular box over to my grandfather and said casually, my parents asked me to bring this gift for Grandpa. He was handsome, and his smile was like a warm spring breeze, making people instantly like him. We're all family now. No need for gifts, my grandfather said coolly. He didn't know this new grandson-in-law at all and wasn't particularly fond of him yet. It's nothing too valuable. I just heard that Grandpa is a fan of jade. My parents have a couple of old pieces at home that they're tired of looking at, so they had me bring them over to win some favor with you, Caleb said quite frankly. Hearing this, my grandfather's interest was piqued. Jade. Yes, Grandpa. Please have a look. Caleb opened the box. Inside was a scepter made of translucent green jade. My grandfather's eyes lit up. He slowly reached out, picked it up, and said, the texture is perfect. It's crystal clear and cool to the touch. This is fine jade. Caleb smiled. I'm glad you like it, Grandpa. But my grandfather tried to refuse. This is too valuable. Take it back. The most precious treasure of the Lee family is already part of my Vance family. What is a mere jade scepter in comparison? Grandpa, if you still accept me as your grandson-in-law, please accept this humble gift, Caleb said with a warm, polite smile. This charming act, I almost forgot what a sharp tongue jerk he could be. However, the jade scepter truly delighted my grandfather, and he accepted it. The other two boxes contained high-quality de Hong Pao tea, my father's favorite, and a classic, beautiful jade hairpin pendant for my mother, who is a fan of traditional clothing. I had no idea how Caleb managed to find out about my family's hobbies. It was a mystery. Caleb and my dad discussed tea like experts, and he even played a 2-hour game of chess with my grandfather. A match of equals where he managed to lose gracefully at the most critical moment. He could even chat about the Korean dramas my mom was watching, praising her favorite actor and saying he was a fan too. By the end of the day, Caleb had my parents and grandfather completely charmed. Their names for him changed from a formal Caleb to affectionate nicknames like Kel and Caleb, dear. I was speechless. I had never seen a man as smooth as Caleb. That evening, as we were leaving, my grandfather specifically told me, Ava, Cal is a good kid. You two should live a good life together. That's right. One failed engagement is enough. Don't let people laugh at you. You two should go get your marriage license tomorrow, my mom added, then turned to Caleb, her face blooming with a smile. Cal, after you get your license tomorrow, come back for dinner. I'll cook your favorites. I frowned in disbelief. Mom, listen to your mother. My dad interjected sternly. I was speechless. I was their biological child. If you don't want to get the license, you don't have to. I'll think of an excuse to tell your parents for now, Caleb said to me on the way back. I glanced at him, hesitated, and then nodded. Okay. Are you tired? He asked, looking at me. I shook my head. I'm fine. He reached out and, unexpectedly, gently ruffled my hair. Caleb. He had already pulled his hand back and was focused on driving. I looked at the sharp profile of his face. A question on the tip of my tongue, but I held back. Didn't he think this was too intimate? We were married. Yes. But before this, we were nemesis. Why are you so quiet? He asked. I finally asked the question. Why did you agree to marry me? Why wouldn't I? He chuckled. You're tall, beautiful, smart, and kind. We're from similar backgrounds. You're the perfect choice for a wife. Anne, marrying you means I have one less formidable competitor. Being complimented so bluntly by my arch-rival, I was at a complete loss for words. But on second thought, it did make sense. My family's business and yours. I hope they can remain separate in the future. We should keep our finances separate. As you wish. He agreed without hesitation. I thought that since we were equals, keeping our finances separate would be a fair deal for Caleb as well, which was why he agreed so readily. However, the next day when I went back to work, my assistant, Grace, rushed in excitedly. Ms. Lee, I just got the news. We won the Apex project. Really? I was surprised. From what I knew, Vance Construction was one of the main bidders, and they had a significant advantage. Grace nodded, smiling. I don't know what got into the Vances, but they suddenly withdrew their bid. So we got it. This assistant was new. I didn't know her well, so I hadn't invited her to the wedding. She didn't know that the young master of Vance Construction was now my husband. They withdrew. Yes. I felt a complicated mix of emotions, not understanding why Caleb would give up such a lucrative project. Ms. Lee, is something wrong? Aren't you happy? I snapped back to reality. It's nothing. You can get back to work. When I got home that evening, I asked Caleb, why did you give the Apex project to us? He was cooking, and replied casually, you could handle it, and Vance has other projects to pursue. But I didn't believe that reason. In the past, you would have fought me for it to the very end. He chuckled at that. In the past, you were someone else's girlfriend. Now, you're my wife. Why would I compete with my wife for anything? I was speechless. He finished speaking and glanced at me. Just the soup left. Go change and wash your hands. Dinner's almost ready. The topic changed abruptly, but I was genuinely hungry. Remembering the 2 breakfasts and 1 lunch he had made for me, I found myself looking forward to it. Okay. I took off my makeup, washed my face, changed my clothes, and when I came downstairs, Caleb had already set the table. A little wine, he asked. I don't eat carbs at night, so I nodded. Sure. Smoked bacon with garlic scapes, sweet and sour pork ribs, shrimp with snow peas, and fish head and tofu soup. The 4 dishes on the table were all my favorites. I didn't realize our tastes were so similar, I said, picking up a piece of bacon. It tasted even better than I expected. If you like it, eat more, he said, looking at me. Then he added, you're too thin. My mind automatically completed the sentence. Not good for childbearing. Before bed, while I was in the bathroom putting on a face mask, a strange number called me 5 times. The last call was 3 minutes ago. I picked up my phone and turned to the man standing by the window. I had calls. You didn't tell me. Caleb turned to look at me and pointed outside. He's out there. I took my phone and walked to the window. A car was parked outside the villa. The porch light illuminated the person standing at the gate. Ethan, how does he know where you live? I asked Caleb, surprised. He glanced at me. So many people at the wedding. There are always one or two who love to stir up trouble. In other words, Ethan had asked around. Ding, a text message. I opened it. It was from the unknown number. Ava, I'm outside Caleb's house. I know you're watching me. Come down. I need to talk to you. I stared at the message, shifting my feet. Caleb watched me. You want to go out? I didn't answer. Then, another text. If you don't come out, I'll wait here all night. I'm begging you. Just come down. I just want to talk. One last time. I hesitated for a moment, then turned to leave. Caleb quickly reached out and grabbed my arm. His brow raised. Are you sure? Yes. I nodded. One last time. Should I come with you? Do whatever you want, I said, walking out. As soon as I opened the main gate and stepped outside, Ethan rushed towards me. Ava, you finally decided to see me. But then he saw Caleb following behind me. His face changed. Ava, I need to talk to you alone. He can't be here. A small smile played on my lips as I looked at the woman standing on the other side of the car. If an outsider like Isabel can be here, why can't my husband? Husband. Ethan looked at me in disbelief. So you two were hooking up behind my back all along. Ava, you're such a slap. I gave him a hard slap across the face. The force was immense. My palm was stinging, hot, and numb. Ethan was stunned, holding his cheek and staring at me blankly for several seconds. This is the last time. Ethan, stop acting. You should have known what you were doing when you were sleeping with Isabel. His eyes widened in shock. You know, ask her. I gestured with my chin towards the silent Isabel. She sent all those disgusting photos to my email. Ethan's eyes widened even further as he turned to Isabel and demanded. You promised you wouldn't let her know. Isabel remained silent, a sad smile on her lips. Suddenly, I forgave her, because she was both hateful and pathetic. Let's maintain what little dignity we have left. From now on, we go our separate ways, I said, turning to go back inside. But from behind me came Ethan's mocking voice. Caleb, you finally managed to poach her. You must be so proud. Huh. I stopped and turned back, looking at Caleb in surprise. What? Caleb was silent, but Ethan let out a loud laugh, pointing at Caleb. I should have been wary of you. I should have known all along. He turned and walked away. Isabel got into the car and drove slowly after him, begging him to get in. Whatever happened between them was no longer my concern. I looked at the man leaning casually against the doorframe. Who did you poach? A smile spread across Caleb's face, lighting up his eyes. My wife. Of course. Caleb liked me. It was unbelievable. And why did Ethan know about it? Back in our room, I kept pressing him about it. But Caleb only said that during our senior year of university, Ethan, who was a PhD student in our department, had once found his wallet. He saw my ID photo tucked inside and guessed that Caleb liked me. The year we graduated, I started dating Ethan. Ethan, knowing Caleb liked me, had sent him a copy of our wedding photos and told him to give up. After that, Caleb stopped responding, lay down on the sofa, stared at me, and refused to say another word. Until I said, but we were always rivals, right? He frowned and snorted. Who wanted to be rivals with you? What? Nothing. I'd just like you. It's that simple. He finished, flopped onto the large sofa, closed his eyes, and completely ignored me. Curious. I leaned in closer to look at him. I noticed the tips of his ears were slightly red. Oh, was he shy? This sharp-tongued guy could be shy. It was a revelation. Caleb, are you shy? Be honest. Ha ha. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. One of the greatest joys in life was seeing my nemesis blush. Caleb shot up, grabbed my hand, and pulled me onto the sofa. He pushed me down and leaned over me. You're so heavy. I pushed against him. Get off. He supported himself on his hands, partially pinning me down. His dark eyes were deep and dangerous as he threatened. If you laugh again, I'm sleeping in the bed tonight. I swallowed hard, not daring to breathe. The next moment, Caleb let go of me. I immediately jumped off the sofa and scrambled back to the bed, pulling the covers over my head. The atmosphere was suddenly awkward, and in that awkwardness, I fell asleep. The next morning, when Caleb woke up, I woke up too. He walked over to the bed, tucked me in, and said, "It's still early. Sleep in a little more. I'll call you when breakfast is ready." I mumbled from under the covers, drifting back to sleep. I woke up again at 6:50 a.m. I got up, washed my face, and put on a mask. At 7:10, Caleb called me. When I went downstairs, he had already made breakfast. After breakfast, Caleb said, "My mom wants us to come over for dinner tonight. Are you free?" I replied, "Yes, I am." He smiled. "Then I'll drive you to work today, and I'll pick you up after so we can go together." I thought for a moment and nodded. Okay. Unfortunately, that afternoon, while I was inspecting a construction site with my project manager, Maya, a rock fell from above and hit my head. A falling object from that height. I bled a lot. We went straight to the hospital. I had a severe concussion, and the doctor admitted me. Just as we were coming out of the examination room, Caleb arrived. He looked calm but worried. His face only relaxed after he spoke with the doctor. He went to handle the admission paperwork. I asked Maya, how did he know I was here? The only suspect. Maya just smiled. Finally, I found out that my subordinate and best friend had a secret connection to Caleb. You're his cousin. My eyes widened. You've been hiding this from me for years. Maya gave an embarrassed laugh. Well, you two were always rivals. Every time you mentioned my cousin, you were practically grinding your teeth. But I swear, I've always been professional and never leaked any company information to him. I believe that. But she definitely told him plenty about me. My family's preferences. My favorite foods. All that. You told him, didn't you? Maya smiled. Hey, he's my cousin. I have to help him out where I can. Right. I pointed at her. Very well. Case closed. The doctor recommended I stay in the hospital for 3 days of observation. I was in a standard 2-person room. That evening, both my parents and Caleb's parents came to visit. My mom offered to stay and take care of me, but my mother-in-law immediately said, let her husband take care of his own wife. Give Kel a chance. That day, Caleb packed all my necessary clothes and toiletries and brought them to the hospital. I said, it's my head that's injured. I can still move around. No one needs to take care of me. But Caleb stayed. For the 3 days I was in the hospital, he personally handled everything I needed. The only thing I managed to fight for was washing my own underwear. This man, who had always seemed so arrogant and rough, I never expected him to be so patient and meticulous when taking care of someone. On the 4th day, after a check-up, I was cleared for discharge. However, Caleb had an urgent matter at his company that he had to attend to, so his mother, my mother-in-law, came to the hospital to help me with the discharge process. Ava, does your head still hurt? Maybe you should stay a couple more days. No, Mom. Being at home is much more comfortable than a hospital, I said with a smile. That's true. I started to pack my things, but she quickly stopped me. You just sit. I'll take care of it. Thanks, Mom. My wound was a little sore, and moving my head made it worse, so I obediently sat down. My mother-in-law seemed very gentle, with a soft voice. I couldn't help but ask, Mom, you're not from this city, are you? Your accent is a little different. No, I'm not, she said, looking at me with a smile. Our family isn't from here. Didn't you know? Caleb isn't from here. I was surprised. That's right. She put down what she was holding, sat beside me, and took my hand. I was a little confused. Then, with a smile, she said, there's something I've been wanting to tell you. What is it? She said, Cal studied business management to take over the family business. In his 2nd year of university, he suddenly asked his father to shift the business focus here. Coincidentally, his father had a friend here who was working on a large construction investment and needed funding. So, our family gradually moved our business over. So that's how it was. My mother-in-law continued. That was his father's reason. For him, there was another reason. It was only a couple of years ago that I found out he had a girl he liked in this city. And that's why he wanted us to move the business here. The girl he liked. Me. She sighed softly. The day before your wedding, Maya told me that the person Cal liked was getting married. The night before. I was worried. So I went to see him. I found him looking at a lot of wedding photos on his computer. I figured the girl in the photos must be the one he liked. It was a shame she was about to belong to someone else. She smiled at that. But then, the next morning, he suddenly called me and said he was getting married. I couldn't help but smile along with her. And then, I was so confused. I thought he had lost his mind. I asked him, "Who are you marrying?" He said, "The person I like." The uncontainable joy in his voice told me it was real. He told us not to ask any questions because time was short, and we just had to follow his instructions. My son hasn't cried since he was 5. My mother-in-law said, her eyes welling up. But when I went to see him that night, he was drinking and crying. "Ava, please, treasure him, because he really, really likes you." Caleb had cried for me. Another shocking discovery. I pursed my lips and promised, "I will." Just as I was discharged, Caleb arrived. My mother-in-law said, "Ava won't be able to work for a while, right? Why don't you come stay with us for a bit? You won't have to worry about a thing. And I can take care of you." Live with my mother-in-law. She seemed nice, but we barely knew each other. I was about to refuse when Caleb spoke up. "No need. I can take care of my own wife. You can go home, Mom. We're leaving." With that, he grabbed my bags and led me to the car. On the way, I kept glancing at him. I was trying to imagine him crying. As I thought about it, I couldn't help but let out a small laugh. Caleb finally lost his patience. "Ava, if you've taken the wrong medication, just say so. We can turn back to the hospital and get your stomach pumped." I laughed even harder, which made my head throb. Is it really okay to be so sarcastic to an injured person? Is it really okay to look at your husband like he's an idiot? He stopped at a red light and glared at me. "Spill it, and I'll make you something delicious today." "And if I don't?" Caleb pouted. "Well, I'll still have to make you something delicious. There you go." I threw my hands up, feeling invincible. That night, before bed, Caleb paced by the bedside, testing the waters. According to our initial agreement, he had given me 3 days to sleep alone. Now, he felt it was time for him to return to the nest. Honestly, if I didn't know he liked me, I probably would have tried to stall for more time. But what can I say? A handsome guy over 6 feet tall, rich, powerful, dotes on his wife, and has had a secret crush for years. Men like that are probably rare, right? Should I give it a try? I climbed into bed first and looked at him. "You won't bump my head in your sleep, will you?" "Of course not." He looked shocked, then raised his hand as if taking an oath. "I sleep very still. I absolutely won't move around." I patted the space beside me. "Then, let's sleep. You got it." He quickly climbed in beside me, carefully promising, "Don't worry, I won't touch your wound." I closed my eyes and hummed in agreement. "Good." He suddenly leaned over and kissed the corner of my mouth. "Good night, wife." Me. That was unexpected. I spent a few more days recovering at home. During this time, Caleb was mostly at home with me, only going out occasionally. The wound wasn't serious, and the stitches were removed after a week and a half. The doctor had shaved a small patch of my hair, which I thought looked ugly, so I wore a wig to work. Caleb said my wound hadn't fully healed and forbade me from eating certain foods. He tirelessly cooked all 3 meals for me every day. When he was really busy, he would have his mother bring food over. As a result, everyone at the company knew that my husband was the young master of the Vance Corporation and that I had a great relationship with my mother-in-law. In fact, the person who got along best with my mother-in-law was my own mother. Lately, whenever she called, all I heard was, "Your mother-in-law and I are getting our hair done. Your mother-in-law and I have an appointment for manicures. I'm taking your mother-in-law to a traditional clothing event. Oh, your mother-in-law and I are planning a trip together." 3 out of every 10 sentences were about my mother-in-law. As for me, I was on the verge of being completely spoiled by Mr. Vance. I realized that since being with him, I had become increasingly lazy. He even dried my hair for me after I washed it. And after we naturally took the next step, he insisted on washing my underwear too. One morning, while he was cooking, I quietly hugged him from behind. "Caleb, are you trying to spoil me rotten?" He snorted, took my hand, and kissed it. "As if you were doing any of these chores before I came along." That was true. I chuckled. "But once you've tasted my cooking and experienced my care, you'll never find anyone else who can look after you so meticulously." no matter how rich you are. I'm going to spoil you so much that you won't know how to live without me. So if you change your mind one day and leave me, I'll be miserable. Change my mind. Don't be ridiculous. I've been secretly in love with you for 7 years. Now that I finally have you, you think I'd let go? He turned around and kissed me. Don't even dream of it. Mrs. Vance, you're not getting away. Oh, is that so? Well then, I'll take a gamble. I'll bet on this one ending. Caleb and I never got our marriage license. I don't know how he convinced my family, but they never pushed us. He said he was waiting for me, waiting for the day I was truly ready and willing to spend the rest of my life with him. Then we would get the license. For months after our wedding, I found out I was pregnant. On the day we got the results, I looked up at the winter sun, its warmth melting the snow, bright and dazzling. I looked down at the man holding my hand and suddenly said, Caleb, let's go get our marriage license. I knew he had been keeping both of our household registration books in his car. He had been waiting for this day. Really? He asked, his face beaming with pure joy. I thought he would at least ask if it was because of the baby that I decided to marry him. But even after we got the license, he just hugged me tightly, let go, kissed me, and then hugged me again, saying, thank you, my queen, for granting me this official title. Thank you, Mrs. Vance. Mr. Vance loves you so much. And I'll love you more and more for the rest of our lives. He couldn't even wait until we got home. In the car, he took a picture of our marriage certificate and the ultrasound report and posted it on his social media with the caption, I, Caleb Vance, have finally been promoted, all thanks to the little one. Then he sent it to the family group chat, showing off to everyone. I opened my social media and gave his post a like. Then, I posted a picture of our marriage certificate with the caption, for the rest of our lives, bound by deep love. 31 Epilogue. That girl, she was beautiful, but it was her smile that captured my heart, like the moon reflected in water, pure and yet so radiant. I liked her from the moment I saw her, but it was my first time liking someone, and I didn't know how to express it, so I just tried my best to get her attention. But, obviously, I failed miserably. She thought I was deliberately causing trouble, that I disliked her and was targeting her. That wasn't it at all. I liked her. I liked her so much that on quiet nights, when my roommates were out partying, I would lie in my dorm bed, and just thinking about her would fill me with joy. I really liked her. But she would tell everyone. That annoying Caleb. She really disliked me. So, I never told her about the things I did for her, because I was afraid she would dislike me even more. After all, you wouldn't be happy about anything done by someone you despise. I didn't know what to do. All I knew was that I wanted to keep liking her, and I couldn't help but like her more and more. I was addicted, hooked on a drug named Ava. The year we graduated, her thesis was lost due to a computer virus. I helped her restore her system and recover the file. This time, I went to her place to do it, so there was no way she wouldn't know. She glanced at me, then glanced at me again, and finally, awkwardly said, Caleb, thank you so much for this. I replied coolly, you're welcome. But only I knew how happy her glance made me feel. When she said my name, it was the first time I thought my own name sounded so good. But I still thought Ava was the best sounding name. So good that I could never forget it, that it was etched into my heart.